else did you have last?
There you go. That's what you want.
Okay.
I think you should fire this. Get someone competent.
They should fire all of us, put us all out of our misery. For their misery, I should say. I think it's more their misery.
Keep it up.
I was 35, so did everyone else.
You were here 5?
Who did your name? Dr. Michael Brandon. Yeah.
So I guess I didn't tell it to collate, it was just pumping them out.
Collate staple.
Not stable, this one doesn't do it.
I'd be asking him.
Hi.
Mullen.
Well, then,
Hi, Mike. But they were orthopedics. Also.
Ed,
Hi, how are you?
good, how are you?
Several people.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah, I think.
I think anyway.
Yeah, he used to make it sound like it's changing a tire.
You guys run Scrabble?
Yeah.
you would enjoy the meeting.
Who they gonna hire for the sewer system? Sewer.
And I was, my legs were shot. That was-
Well, interview process.
He's strong.
No, it was only 2 candidates, I guess.
Yeah, I was wondering which side. It looks like they decided to hire one of those. Since they got them.
One's gonna turn it down anyway.
Okay.
We have that.
So it's one.
Sure.
Before you guys start, are you available to hop on that Zoom meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
You want me to resend it?
No, I got it.
Okay, good. No, thanks.
I got it. You have that Long Rivers guy's number by any chance that I could call before the meeting?
I do, yeah.
Okay, can you send that
I
to me?
will. I'll do that first thing in the morning.
Okay, yeah,
Or tonight.
yeah, okay, yeah, whenever.
Fine, I'll do it. But I'll do it so you have it. in time.
Okay.
Okay,
You're doing this all for us.
Yes.
Oh, the daily stuff.
okay, everybody's here. It is 5:33. Call this meeting to order. Our first order would be to approve the minutes from the last meeting. We don't have any, so we're going to table them to the next meeting. We're here to talk about the sidewalks that are being installed and the curbing that's being installed. At the last selectors meeting, brought to their attention again the fact that I could fit my hand underneath some of the curbing in the middle of it. Showed them a picture again. 2 meetings ago, Mike Doherty had said that when he saw that picture, that curbing was incorrectly installed because it wasn't totally on compacted soil.
Sorry.
He said he was going to have that hunk of granite changed out or fixed. It was not. I brought that to the selectmen's attention. At the meeting, the last meeting with the selectmen, the day before the meeting, they had installed some granite curbing in front of the pipe and drum. Again, I showed the selectmen this time because Mike Doherty was not at the meeting. My hand underneath another hunk of granite in front of the pipe and drum, which was installed the day before that meeting, which is 2 weeks beyond when it was brought to their and Mike Doherty's attention. And Mike had said it was installed wrong that time. So if indeed it's installed wrong, we have issues because somebody's not saying it's installed wrong to somebody and it's not getting fixed. Gene Speck says that during the, that every Thursday they have a site meet or a meeting with contractors. Rick, are you involved in those meetings?
When I have time yet, they're just, they go through the minutes, anything that's come up, they talk about. Well, I've been getting involved in more, was just like the church driveway and stuff like that, where they've had issues after stuff's been tied back in,
Just such what?
like the church driveway where it's been tied back in, and then there's people don't care for it, so they've been calling me for that.
I heard
People
about-
call me about it.
I
and I have
heard
to
about
go.
the orange stripes
That was,
because it's so friendly.
and that's an issue there because the way the driveway's pitched, plus now that the curbs, sidewalk's actually a little bit lower than it was before because of pitch requirements.
So,
So, I mean, one side of the sidewalk is even with the driveway, the other side's up.
right, well, because the sidewalk
Yeah.
goes down.
So are they gonna cut the driveway back and fix it for them?
That's the last thing we discussed last week. Mike's doing up a drawing, but the contractor thought that maybe we should redo all the sidewalks around the church. And I don't think so. That's going a little bit beyond what a change in elevation is.
No, I don't, yeah, I agree. Anything been said about the installation of the curbing or who, I've yet to see the change work order that was put in for the granite that wasn't in the specs. North Carolina
To
granite.
change the company,
Well, who, didn't the company had to submit a change work order for the granite that came out of North Carolina, didn't they?
yeah, the selectmen okayed that.
Well, the selectmen said they discussed the extra cost, but they said they did not vote on whether to accept it or not.
I thought that was done before the bid.
According to Glenn Sanchez at the last meeting, they did discuss it, but they did not vote on whether or not to accept.
So
What
Jean,
is-
Jean has the authority to do it on her own. Maybe she did it on her own.
She must have the authority. If she would be the only one that could sign off on that, right?
As far as I know, all three selectmen don't sign on it. No, once
Right.
they talk
Yeah.
about it, then she just signs.
But I always thought that something like that would be a board decision, no?
Depends.
So the biggest question is, since it didn't meet specs, did they say in their change work order that it didn't meet the
Well, I don't
specs?
know what spec it didn't meet. It meets the
Oh,
hardness.
It
And
meets the state spec, correct? That's what they said. Meant the state.
But I mean,
spec.
There's a number of things that it didn't measure up to. The backside of it was supposed to be saw cut, the top was
Right.
supposed to be plain, the edges of it were supposed to be curved, the
Right.
front side was supposed to be of a certain,
Those
The
specs,
full
that
thickness.
variation. and it
Right,
didn't meet
right.
any of those.
the specs that
And
were in
they
our
were 18
plan,
inches tall, and now they vary from what, 15 to 17.
Right. No,
That's
I
the-
agree.
Part of the problem with this base material is you can't compact it to one elevation because
No.
every curve is a different height.
Right,
And they,
exactly.
the initial plan showed it at a concrete cradle. They did away with that.
Yeah.
From what we could see, we got less, we paid more.
And
That's what we're trying
right.
to figure out.
and so the specs on the plan show all of what Jack just mentioned. And because everybody knows that this granite doesn't meet those specs. So
Somewhere in the
So,
line you got.
I just wonder if Jean signed it and didn't know, or if they told her and she signed it anyways. And because if they told her, then of course that puts the responsibility on the town. If they didn't tell her, then I think that puts the responsibility on them to make it right.
Yeah, or not charge us the difference.
They charged us $67,000 extra for this granite, claiming it's a truck. How many truckloads did they bring for $67,000 extra?
they're still bringing them in. I don't know how many there've been. I unloaded one, that's all I know.
I don't understand how you bid a project, a public project, with a bid bond, and then you come back a month later and say you can't perform. You get paid extra because you can't perform it.
I thought that was changed
me, it's
before the
contrary
bid,
to
so
everything
everybody knew it. but-
Yeah, that's what they were saying in the last meeting. It was changed before it went out to bid, but we
And,
couldn't find it anywhere.
There aren't change orders before the
Exactly,
bids, or do they come after the bid,
Right.
after the contract's signed?
right.
Was it addendum or was it a change order?
So Matt Winter, for the record, what I understand is that the nosing on the curb was changed during the bid. That came out as an addendum during the bid period. But that the height of the curb and the width of the curb and the thermal treatment on the top of the curb and the vertical cut was not changed. All that remained the same. It was still required at the end of the bid period.
Right.
And the change order, I for sure changed the height of the curb from 18 to 16.
Right. 15 to 17 is what they got.
I wasn't able to see, I didn't see anything in the documents that I reviewed that got rid of the thermal treatment, got rid of the vertical back,
So I'll cut
Right,
it back.
right.
the saw cut in the back. So I think that in order to satisfy yourself, Mike, I think that you should get the full
I got-
change order
I've
document.
requested that.
So when you get that, you'll be able to see, and then after that, it makes the difference from an inspection, material inspection standpoint, right? So the inspector should be inspecting per the specification. They should be accepting.
That's our issue. One of
That's
our,
the trouble.
or one of our issues is the granite and the quality of it, and the fact that it doesn't meet any of the specs on the plan.
But it
Except
might,
that it's
depending
granite
on
and it
the-
meets the breaking, it
Gotcha.
meets the strength. But other than that, it's not,
We don't know what they signed, so.
Well,
maybe it
that's-
does mean-
well, I'm just saying what's on the plan, and it's still, it's on the last plan that I saw too.
But the change order the change order would alter what the specifications of the material.
Right.
So understanding what the change order says, I think is.
And it was after the bid because it
Yeah.
came in as a request for an extra for it afterwards. So we were notified of the change order as a committee. We were notified of a couple of other things, which was brought up. The sidewalk across the street from the Catholic Church in front of the cemetery. Originally, when we were talking about it, the idea came up of just eliminating it to make parking out of it because everyone parks on the sidewalk. This was talked about at the selectmen's meeting. And the state of Connecticut wouldn't allow, and Mike Doherty was going to put in, or the plan, a drivable curb.
Right.
A mountable curb, drivable.
Right.
And the state of Connecticut wouldn't accept that because they didn't want to encourage parking on the sidewalk. We weren't told that until 2 meetings ago.
Right.
2 selectmen's meetings ago, which is only not even 3 weeks ago. Right. So again, another issue we weren't told about that we probably more than likely would have pushed for the parking space rather than sidewalk, since there's a nice new sidewalk in front of the church now anyways. So a part of the discussion was people, a couple of people that I knew wanted the continuity of being able to walk the block without crossing the road.
Can we Freedom of Information Act that letter from the state to the first selectman's office for the request saying that the change couldn't be done? The mountable curb can't be done.
But I'm sorry.
Can we get a Freedom of Information motion going to ask to see that letter from the state saying that the mountable curb, they don't approve?
I think there's water under the
I
bridge.
I think it is too
I
now.
don't think
but-
there's nothing you can do about it now.
Right.
But, because,
That's the one that seems
well,
out of everyone's hands.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, there's nothing we can do, but it just adds up to the fact that once we made our recommendation to the selectmen who to hire, not one bit of, until we started getting involved saying, we don't like what we see when they first started the job. They never sent us anything. They never informed us of any changes. never asked us for any recommendations. Jean has admitted several times that she knows nothing about it, so why would you sign something if you don't know anything about it and not seek advice from people you asked for advice from? Anyhow, what's done is done, and I have no idea where people are gonna park for church now because they're gonna blow their tires out parking on the sidewalk now. Some people apparently don't care. So what else did I talk about with them? Oh, the fife and drum. So many people were concerned about that. All the work that they're doing in front of there. And it's in writing and it's public notice that the town is only paying for the 5-foot sidewalk, and it's so wide because they're required a snow shelf, which we've known right from day one.
Yeah.
In between. And Melissa Potts, she must have come to a contract with Mather Corp because they've already poured the sidewalk for her that she has requested and agreed that she will pay for. And I have no problem with it. Between the sidewalk and her building,
Oh, okay.
just to create the continuity of it. It makes perfect sense. And when we talked about it at the selectmen's meeting, I wouldn't have a problem as long as she's paying for it and everybody in town understands that. I think that the selectmen should have a copy of that contract in case someone wants to see it. But that's the only other issue that came up during the meeting, and the fact that things weren't getting changed that we spoke about. Like the curb walk down by Morningstar,
That's still coming out.
that's still coming out.
Yeah.
How about the one across the other one by the Frontier building?
Whatever the state told me they had to take out.
What about the curb that's not curved there either?
I don't know if the states make,
Well,
the state,
the curb, the straight curbing is the state's issue. Their issue is grades, right?
grades and detection pads that they put in, they don't like them.
And
The one on Morningside, Star Side, they put the pad in so you walk off towards north and drop off.
On an angle towards
Yeah.
Bridge Street.
Right, okay.
So that was one of the things.
Yeah.
If there's gonna be a crosswalk there, just straight
So-
across the
so
phone
the-
building.
So the non-curved granite is not an issue. They're just changing it because the state doesn't like the,
I wasn't down there when they were discussing that.
I mean,
The curb granite. The
Like
only place
Dover-
I've seen any curb granite right now is
yeah, right over here by
Right
the
at the
coffee
railroad.
shop.
both sides by the railroad crossing, which is gonna get ripped up again anyway.
All right.
So, Mike Doherty did say that they were changing it because of the curbing. He didn't say that the state's not accepting. But my question is, the other side by Frontier also has straight curbing, but it's longer pieces,
Yeah, I think, well,
and it's not curved. And even in the sheet submitted to the selectmen, there were curved granite in that bid sheet for the North Carolina granite. And that sidewalk by Frontier, I was standing there the day they poured that on uncompacted soil. I watched them shovel it up in a pile, and then I watched them pour the concrete on top of it. And I watched them take the compactor away before that. So, which brings me to one of tonight's, did you want to?
Yep.
One of tonight's subjects is the engineer, are they calling him a clerk of the works, or what is his official title? Is it engineer?
probably just inspector, I don't know. I think he's
Daily report.
not a clerk of the works, because we tried advertising for clerk of the works about people that wanted to run cash register at Walmart.
Yeah, where did the town advertise besides the town website?
I think it was in the water.
the guys on
water
Pine
area.
Needle shovels are making more money over at the town than this, the guy that's supposed to be brains of the operation that they're looking for. Maybe if they, sweetened it a little bit, the pot, they might get somebody.
You know, I mean,
Seems pretty low for someone.
Yes, would speak with authority and have knowledge.
here's the job classification. of
Is
that.
that the description
Did
that,
you read this?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
but is that the description
But we didn't,
that the engineers were contracted under, or was that just the job description?
yeah, we don't know if that was,
This was, I was told this is what they posted for the clerk of the works.
Yeah.
$25 to $28 an hour, purpose, nature of the work.
But they probably signed something different. SLR.
Oh, right.
that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering. Yeah.
SLR can't provide anybody for that.
No,
Okay, so
I'd look through these.
I just got these reports.
There's not one deficiency mentioned anywhere.
no,
So, and this is our issue. I witnessed Mike Doherty and Austin, is his name? Or
Yeah, one of them was Austin, the one that's out here now, Joe.
I watched Austin and Mike watch them pour the concrete on uncompacted soil. I texted Mike saying, I think you guys all heard me say it, that's compacted, I'm George Washington. And then he just came over and said he can't get the job done with me annoying them all the time. So, but anyways, that day, I would have assumed that he would have written down as the engineer who has been hired to watch this job in the interest of us, his employers, well, his employers' employers. He's not watching out for our interest. I don't know what we're paying per hour for him. Rick, do you know?
No. Each one's different that comes out, so it's whatever the company.
Oh, they don't send the same one each time?
No, like I said, Joe, the guys that's been here the last 3 or 4 days, his name is Joe.
Okay.
Austin been on a different job. He comes back once in a while when Joe's not here, so. Well, that's who comes out each day.
So my point is, what I'm getting at is, what are we getting for our money? He hasn't listed, I haven't read these, but Jack said he
I
glanced
just
through them.
looked through
He hasn't listed one issue. I have yet to see anything get corrected. Gene keeps saying, oh, it's talked about at the meetings, it's talked about at the meetings. Well, talk is cheap. Mike Doherty said that my hand under that one piece of curb way down there by a corner of Elizabeth Street and Bridge Street was wrong. And that goes back more than 3 weeks now. And here's today's pictures. Or yesterday's picture. There's a couple for yesterday. Well, just one, because I had, it cost me money to print this stuff, but it's a bad picture, but my hand's stuck underneath that granite right in front of the Kent Town Center.
I saw that. I saw that.
There are, I got 4 pictures in 4 different places where my hand fit underneath the
Yeah.
granite.
It says in the
That's
DOT
a
spec, it's supposed to be compacted in layers, and I think
6-inch layers.
6-inch
Yeah.
layers, but there's also something in here. I think 3/8 of it, within 3/8 of an inch, or whatever the finished elevation. So there should be 3/8 of an inch below no more than 3/8 of an inch below the bottom of the curve.
Well, my hand to
That's-
here
that's
is more than 3/8 of an inch thick.
When you dump loose process and then just stand on the curb
Yeah,
and tap it down, and you quit when it's at the right elevation. What happens if you keep tamping? Does it keep going lower and lower? What's gonna happen in the middle of the winter when the loader climbs up on the sidewalk to push the snow off, and you got the point load of the 2 wheels running down on top of the curb?
And
Right,
right,
this is a system that the town voted on that they want the last 40 years, it's concrete. They don't want anything to do with asphalt, it was, wasn't good enough, they wanted the Cadillac, they got the 40-year system. Yeah, this needs to be built properly.
and right next to Lane Street, just south of where the concrete already is in place, there are 2 pieces of granite that are almost 3/8 of a difference in height
yeah, I
at
saw
the
that.
connection.
Where's that at?
Just south of the concrete curb, the concrete crosswalk, the corner of Lane Street and Route 7. The state put the concrete in there for the crosswalk 3
Yeah.
or 4 years, I
Yeah.
don't know how many years ago. they dug up to that and they had granite placed up. That is it, yeah, I think it's, no, it's, I think it's there, yeah.
Is it board also?
No.
The sidewalk, do you think they might be planning grind?
No, this is where Jack's saying you tap it down so they're level.
Oh, it's lower
It's lower
than,
than the one next to it. So there's already a I think that is a non-ADA compliant thing. So again, what are we getting for the money we're paying for this guy? I don't see that he is watching out for the town's best interest. I don't know that, it doesn't say anything in the request for a clerk of the works saying that it has to be a licensed engineer. If we could come up with a couple of names of people who might want to do the job, but they're not engineers, should we?
They don't require an engineer.
What?
From what I read, it didn't require an engineer.
No, it doesn't.
Somebody who's knowledgeable.
Yeah, somebody who's knowledgeable with construction and whatever else was there. I don't know where what it did with that.
You got it.
Did I give it to you? No.
See ya.
All right,
There you go. Okay, I don't even know what I did with that. Had it. The town's the job
Right there.
The job classification. Examples of duties, well, just says the purpose is the nature of ongoing inspections, review of the work performed by the contractor, temporary position, duration of the project about 6 months, under direct supervision of the first selectman, part-time and hourly position, daily inspections, so on and so forth. But it doesn't say anything about an engineer.
No.
But I can think of a couple of guys who are retired and were in construction their entire lives that might be interested.
One of them already bowed out.
I guess if we were to recommend dismissing the current guy, we would have to recommend a replacement, wouldn't we?
I would think so. Otherwise, it's gonna stop the project.
Well,
Copy of the SLR contract. Canceling that if there's a clause in it.
well,
$67,000
is there?
fine.
We've already paid it. Well,
It's almost too late. I hate to say it, but I mean.
It really
look
is.
Where we are.
Because
We're, one side of Main Street's almost done. The other side, they had it ripped up in no time.
yeah, they're getting.
well,
like
my problem is
pretty far
we've
ahead
been
of
bringing
themselves.
from day one, 5 weeks ago, we've been bringing these issues to the Board of Selectmen, to Mike Doherty, and even Jeff Keith, who is I don't know what his title is, foreman, superintendent,
Oh, man.
Mathers, super. He has told me I'm making his life a living hell.
What about the state? Can we talk to the state inspector and ask him? He should be the one that's the best at this.
I don't know how much time they're spending there.
They come out every time before, when they form any ramps for,
Is that
when they're gonna do any paving.
Is that when they do the cylinder tests?
The state,
Who does the cylinder?
No, that's
It's a-
Either-
depending.
Mather or
Mather.
ONG, I don't, or
Or Mike.
SLR.
yeah, that's how.
I mean, I saw some
I
cylinders.
think they may have hired ONG to do it, because I've seen an ONG guy out here once in a while when they're pouring.
I followed.
I don't think ONG can do it. It's gotta be a licensed laboratory.
He might take it to him.
Well, they probably have a license. I followed one of their vans following the truck to the job one day.
For their quality control.
And they're probably hired through the state, so maybe.
what do you think we can accomplish?
Well, that's what we're here to discuss. My hopes were we could find a replacement, but is it too late? There's
I
still,
think so.
there's still.
Considering
Main Street,
the past action would take to make a difference.
And I think the other side of the street is gonna be the big one with all the stores and restaurants and
Yeah,
stuff
that's-
matching up
That's
to
where,
their edge is gonna be crucial, I think.
Well, one thing they have to pay a little more attention to on that side of safety, those,
That's for sure.
Well,
we
that's what
drive
we're-
down through
we're
there,
gonna-
if
we're
I
gonna-
was their insurance company, they'd be looking for.
we get to that next. We're gonna get to that part next.
Half this stuff is unprotected, it's not even a ribbon or anything, you step off it,
Yeah, they had
in front of the
to,
pipe and drum, there's a curb,
We're gonna,
curb box.
we're gonna get to that next.
yeah, and at the
In front of the
monument,
door.
and at the monument today, when they dug it all out
So
around
what's it
the
say?
corner, they didn't have any fencing up or anything. Somebody could just driven their car right
So
off
what's
and
it
into
say?
that.
As far as dismissal, does it say anything or not?
See anything about dismissal, but there could be something in that last page is the boilerplate stuff.
You'd be happy if.
They aren't gonna
Either
put
party
anything
may
about,
terminate this agreement upon 10 days written notice, 10 days open. Either party may terminate the event of material breach or. All services and extra services. Well, by the time we could get rid of, by the time we have a selectmen's meeting and give them the 10 days, it's way too late.
Okay, I've been trying to take notes. But I'm thinking probably the best we can do is put together a formal list and send it of ongoing problems.
Mhm.
Send it to the Board of Selectmen immediately.
Again.
Yeah, yeah. Or that's one of the things we. So,
Well, my hopes were shot down just now.
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
But, okay, so since we can't do anything about that, or it's really too late, I think, Jack has brought up what I was gonna bring up as our next subject.
All right.
The safety issue. All weekend long, there was at least a 1-foot drop off the edge of Route 7 with a few barrels along the way. And in 2 locations, there were steel rods, which are the grade stakes to support the forms or sticking up. So all I could envision is somebody tripping off this 1-foot edge because there's no safety fence there and shish kebabbing themselves on the bar after they broke their leg. So
and where was this at?
this is right in front of the Kent Town Center. And there's a little fencing up in front of Dr. Mike and the jewelry place, but not much.
Yep.
If you'd like to see these, Matt, you probably have seen it, but there's a longer view of it. That drop from the road down is a foot or better.
And wasn't it when they explained it all to us, they were gonna have that orange fencing up all along?
They're supposed to, something like that. If someone gets hurt, they're not just gonna sue Mather Corporation, they're gonna go after the town,
Everybody.
Yeah, the list.
everybody they could list. I think that's our next issue here,
Rick will be on there.
and if they can't put the fencing up, then they.
that's why you didn't see Rick's name on it.
And that drop was from curb that's been installed.
No, it's
This is
where they cut out.
where
Roadway.
they dug it out for the curbing and the
Yeah.
sidewalk, and they left that 1-foot drop all weekend
From the pavement.
from the
Yeah.
pavement. And it's at least a foot. I'm sure it's maybe a little more in places, but
When you look at all this collectively, it's though, there's nobody watching them or criticizing the work they're doing. That's the,
and that's,
that's SLR is supposed to be on top of them. They should feel, where is he? Are we doing a good enough job? They should be on top of them. Get them to perform.
I mean, there's gotta be some kind of repercussions for them not doing their job as far as I'm concerned.
Instead of doing 75%, his president should make them do 105% of what they're supposed to do, because they're worried about not doing a good enough job. If he was really good at what he was doing, that's the way it would be.
So, we'll add that to the letter, to the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
That's a major concern. Because
Oh,
it's,
Hey, you know, with the state, I mean, lawsuits are.
and I'm,
you know,
kidding.
laws are-
I'm surprised the state isn't.
And, you know, at the last selectmen's meeting, they had said, Gene had said that in their last discussion, their last Thursday meeting, that they were gonna take down the barrows and barricades and all over the weekend.
Right.
So I didn't.
Well, where it wasn't dug up, they were
Yeah,
gonna move
well,
them, right,
from the town center south to the Episcopal church, the barrels were still there.
right.
And no, it wasn't dug up. So I didn't really pay attention over the weekend. I didn't go through town. Did someone come early Monday morning and before 6:30 and put them in, or were they there all weekend?
No, they were on the lawn.
They were on the lawns.
Okay,
yeah.
So someone must have went by.
They came back, moved them out.
Someone came back either Sunday evening or
No.
Monday morning.
Jeff's usually down there at 6:30.
Well, they were just ahead of me because I was.
Puts the signs up and moves the barrels out.
'Cause I was there at like 6:35, 6:40. Okay, well, that's good that they did
Yeah.
that, but,
So the segmented radius from Elizabeth Street, original Elizabeth was not in place.
no, it hasn't.
And are they taking out the sidewalk and repouring with that expansion against the stone wall?
That's what I asked when I was told it's being replaced, when Mike Doherty said, oh, we're replacing that. It
Yeah.
didn't say the state made him do it. Our concerns were not mentioned here, Rick here. So, Mike
He did
Doherty
say
did
they-
say
he did say
that
that-
curb granite would be put in, and he did say that the expansion joint would be put in along the stone wall, if they can pry it away from the stones.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah.
point. Because there wasn't even any plastic there. So,
Ed,
Yeah,
do you know, well, I'm sure you do, is the sidewalk part of the DOT right away? Or is the sidewalk?
it's part of the right of way. That is correct.
So
It's
the
within the
DOT
right of way, except in a few spots where we had to get easements from the property owners.
So the construction there is under the purview of the DOT.
Technically, yes,
they own it, but we have to maintain it.
only because we signed it over. Correct.
But everything had to be cleared by them, all the specs had to be. run.
Correct.
Yeah.
They
And so
approved it
the
all.
inspection should be approved, the construction should be approved by them as well.
I agree. Yeah.
That's what I would think. They do send an inspector once in a while.
Yep. But they're so short people now that probably this is the problem.
But somebody from the state theoretically would be looking at these
Yep.
reports.
So, I guess if you guys have anything else to add, I think, we'll add that safety issue to our list of
That
concerns.
Sealer, if we brought that up, it still hasn't changed. It looks like a little brief
The sealer.
rain occurred, there's little droplets.
Well,
Oh,
after the-
yeah.
Supposed to be a continuous film applied to.
Well, here's the best one. Here's the best one. At the selectmen's meeting the other day, yeah, I mentioned that. Joyce, sorry, Joyce, Jean said that somebody has decided that they don't need it because the weather has cooled down. There's nothing in the state specs that allows you have to do two things. You either keep it moist or you seal it right away. There's nothing saying, oh, if it cools off, you don't have to worry about it. Nothing. And I said that at the selectmen's meeting, and again, I'll bring it up at the next site meeting.
We gotta get credit for that. Hasn't been done right.
Look at that.
since
That
day
stuff's
one.
expensive, I get it, but the way they're not. It says right, and I read the specs to the selectmen, that it's to be spread in even layer, 2 even layers, one immediately, as soon as it's dry enough, and the other
Not
no,
more than 30
no.
minutes.
yeah, no sooner than 2 hours and not more than how many hours?
Not more than 30 minutes between coats.
No, it's not more than
30
30 minutes.
minutes.
Okay, but I read that to them. And Gene, that's when Gene said that they decided they don't need it.
Was it seal or curing agent?
The seal.
I thought they were only spraying curing agent. on.
Well, the curing agent is the seal. It's a
Yeah.
cure and seal. It's a cure and seal. It should be. It's. And anytime I've put it on, I've never had those white dots.
I thought said they're only using something that kept it from setting up so fast because of the heat.
Well, that's
That might
Well,
have been,
that's the curing. It's a curing agent.
That might have been in the concrete itself.
Well, they put a retarder in the concrete, I would assume. I haven't seen any of the mixed tickets, but,
They weren't letting them put it in it, and that's
oh, really?
why they were having trouble with it setting up so fast. And then they finally decided that, okay, but then when the temperature dropped, they said they don't need the retarder anymore. So,
But-
I don't know if they're putting it in now or
Well,
not.
that's probably what Gene was talking about.
I know she's
Well, the,
asking about the white spots and
well, the curing agent is the sealer, and it's supposed to be spread in even layers. That's what, you want, I got a copy of it here.
And how do they put that down?
Spray it.
Just
With a
with a
sprayer
pump
that
sprayer.
actually sprays instead of spits blobs of it.
Right, right. So that's where you're getting,
Jack witnessed their
Yeah.
sprayer
Right.
just spitting blobs.
yeah.
Not
The
spraying.
guy just made one pass, went down the road, never came back.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a continuous film.
Right.
Supposed to come back and apply another one perpendicular to the first one, so that it completely seals the surface.
Seals,
You can look at it.
And that helps to,
Okay.
that helps to keep the
Little droplets
moisture.
here.
Right, right, right.
So you either keep it wet, sprinkle it, or you get that 2 coats on there, like Jack said.
Right.
Or,
And is there anything in I don't see anything in the inspection report showing ever doing that.
I haven't seen any.
What I mean is, yeah.
So I brought that up at the last meeting, and her remark was that, so, but maybe she's confusing it with the retarder in the mix instead.
Well, Doherty made it. Didn't you bring it up to him
He wasn't there.
prior to that?
Oh, the sprayer, he said he wasn't aware that the spec required. That's what he said at the selected meeting almost 3 weeks ago.
You know, the spec for the job is this thick, but it refers to the DOT spec. and
Right.
You've got to go pull out all the different sections.
But that's what they require. I usually cover it with plastic, and then I cover a floor for at least 5 days, and 5 days later, there's still water between the plastic and the concrete. It holds the water.
What it really does, makes
Even
it
when it's
dry
80
evenly.
degrees.
I did a job inside a building in the middle of winter. I removed the floor because it was contaminated with PCBs, and Perform Concrete did it. They pumped the concrete in. They did a beautiful job. We saw cut it immediately. It was sealed. It was covered with poly. We put water on it. They took the poly and the water application off. We resealed it again. It's like 2 weeks later. Middle of winter, no humidity control in the building, and the concrete literally curled like you see in a mud puddle. Where the leading edge, where it came up against the old concrete, some places it was up, almost 3/8 of an inch. We had to go back and suck up the whole perimeter of it and tie it together with dowels. It was all because of that uneven drying, the surface dried
Oh,
out
okay.
before the bottom bit. You see it in like in mud puddles, all those little things,
Curly up.
concrete does do the same thing. That's what this sealer is supposed to help it cure evenly.
But those sidewalks, and I mean, they poured on days when it was like 90 degrees. Of course, they're not gonna keep up with that if they don't have a retarder in it or something, but that's just, the concrete setting so fast. Is there anything in any of those where he says the concrete might have been on the truck longer than it's supposed to be?
no.
Because that day I observed the sidewalk on the uncompacted soil. I've always been told by every load of concrete I've ever purchased, which is only about 4,000.
I
You
know
have
I
an
had
hour from when it's
to
fixed.
let one of them borrow one of my crowbars to get it out of the chute one day.
See, now that load should have been rejected.
And that's a perfect way to get them on their toes. Send back a couple loads of concrete they're paying for.
It's probably costing them $2,300 a load. Or close to it.
That was one of those nice hot days and they were bitching about how slow it was coming down the chute. And then finally, when they went to wash out, there was up at the, where it first dumps out of the barrel. It was
Yeah, right up in the hopper. So,
nice.
so you have an hour from when it's put in the truck to when you mix it and start placing it.
And they're coming a
Now-
long ways too.
Now,
right?
I saw the truck sitting on the job for a half hour before they
Yeah.
even mixed it. And coming out of Torrington, he's not getting here in a half hour.
No, he couldn't even get here in half hour. It's a
So,
45-minute ride.
so has the engineer mentioned anything about sending a truck back that's mix was on there for too long?
No, I haven't heard it. But the only one I heard of sending it back was the other day when they couldn't pour in front of the pipe because the selectmen hadn't voted on it yet.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the only one that I know has gone back.
I don't know what O and G's hitting them for 4,400 pound mix, but I bet you it's gotta be close to 200 a yard.
I don't know,
Yeah,
because they did everything by square foot, so that's all the only numbers.
I don't know, I'm just.
Is R&R any closer than?
R&R's 20 minutes away.
But I don't know if they were state certified or, because he was gonna try Century, I think, and they didn't have the,
Oh, they have stone and aggregate was on.
I wouldn't buy water from them. They know it, I told them. So- But anyways,
Okay.
R&R's concrete is really good quality concrete. I don't understand why they're using O&G unless they aren't certified. I don't know how to ask Jamie.
I'm sure they have to go through the state.
I'm sure they would, but I mean, anyways,
Okay, I've got continuing gaps under the curve with at least 4 pictures.
in front of the town center.
Four spots. Right in front of the Kent Town Center, no protection over the weekend, no protection. That's
No protection, still the whole project basically.
exposed rebar with no covering, and over a 12-inch drop.
They were
Well, actually, they were concrete, they're concrete
steel stakes.
steel stakes for forming concrete. You know, you see it when they form their
Okay.
sidewalks, the steel stakes that they have,
Right,
that's what holds their boards and they have holes in
okay.
it. But there are
Okay,
two of
not
those,
rebar.
it's not rebar, it's
Great bars forming.
it's forming bars, I don't know what they call them.
Steel stakes.
Just steel stakes,
Yeah. Okay,
they aren't,
Um,
yeah, they're not rebar.
the 12-inch drop from pavement to excavation. Still segmented corner in Elizabeth Street, not replaced. Still poured straight against the stone wall of Morningstar. Sealer does not appear to have been installed properly at all.
Or at all.
Okay. 3/8 difference in the height of the curb to the ADA pad at Main Street.
Near there. Curb to curb, actually. It's curb to curb.
Okay. And we're curious as the inspecting engineer checking truck tires.
Okay. And
Can you copy?
so
All right,
Yeah.
he's up and send.
there's one other thing that was talked about. I don't know if you guys remember the drainage issues in front of Dr. Mike and.
Yeah.
I can't remember the lady's last name for the little jewelry store there, or little store
I don't
next
remember either.
next to
Yeah.
Carol.
Carol, well, I
Aside from
know
the
Carol, but
Anyways, we had addressed it and Mike Doherty said that they were going to address it, and at the last meeting, Gene had said that they're supposed to lower that surface drain catch basin right in
Yeah.
front of it. It looks like they may have, because it looks like fresh mortar around it. Doesn't look like they lowered it much.
it was only going down, I think it was either 1.5 or 1.5. It was like, wasn't
Okay,
very much. 'Cause
so-
are they doing a driveway
inch and a
drain
half to-
across there too or not? No,
1.5 to 2 inches. Inch and 1.5 tenths. And a tenth is an inch and a quarter, so that's another 5/8, so that puts it almost 2 inches.
I didn't say the plans.
because we had talked about a driveway drain across there, didn't we?
Well, we did talk about a drain, but I asked about that at the last selectmen's meeting, and
And they were tied into the basin.
Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna happen.
Right,
At the last meeting, Gene had said that they're just gonna lower that one because it's what do they call it? It's a flush mounted, it's a flush,
Curbless top.
flush.
oh,
curbless top. So if, I guess they may have lowered, if that's all they lowered it, that's, I don't think it's enough, but
Better wait, see if it works.
yeah, well, trouble is
Wow.
if they went by her doorstep, she's got a little kind of a ramp. And
Yeah.
then her patio thing is lower than that, so I don't know if it's gonna solve any of the water issues there or not, but
I think that's why they went back that far in that driveway too, which people made comments to me about.
well, they have to deal with the drainage.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Is the tree still coming out?
no, the tree is not coming out.
No,
no,
Nope.
that's
It's
crazy.
gonna-
aren't those
Give our new
roots all
sidewalks.
underneath the
This-
sidewalk?
See that?
Well,
Yeah,
No, when they dug it out,
Cut
they
'em out?
didn't find any.
Oh,
the roots are definitely knocked her sidewalk walk out of whack, but that
Ben
tree,
said he figured that all the roots will be on the backside, and I guess they worked.
well,
can you get Bruce to come down and give her a little consultation?
Bruce
They
had
will
that,
be putting a root barrier there.
Yeah. The roots would love that fresh stuff.
that fresh soil. Oh, it's compacted. I've seen it,
Okay,
I've seen the
okay.
plate running, you know, I've seen them even with their they had the bigger plate out today, so that.
well, that's because they were dumping whole bucket loads and then
Well,
running the big compactor
well,
over the whole
But
bucket.
you know
load.
what, in their defense on that one, where they're dumping it so thick and compacting it is right where people have to walk.
So they did
It's
temporary.
temporary
Right,
access.
right, and then
They're
they've been
digging
pulling
it back out and hitting it. So in their defense, that's,
I saw that.
that's where they're compacting the thickness, it's just to get the temporary
Yeah.
access.
I did watch them one morning
Well,
across
one
from the
morning.
pipe and drum. And it looked like they were doing it properly. Everything was
Yep.
up. They actually had to scratch a little bit of the compacted material to get the curb to sit down where it belonged. And I
I'm
assume.
gonna show you last week's picture.
I assumed that that's the way the rest of it was gonna go, but
Two of them.
not the case.
So, I guess, anyone else have anything to add? Any more public speaking? Matt, thank you for coming and checking in on our meetings. Anything else you'd like to add here? or-
Maybe you'd like to volunteer for that position.
Yeah, no, thanks.
We'll pay you.
No, I
It's
think
not
that's,
volunteer.
I think that's, don't give up. You know, I'd say
Well, it's,
don't give up.
it's frustrating to me because I'm building a house in my spare time.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is involving a lot of time as of late, and every time we speak, someone says, oh, we're talking about it. And nothing's getting done. And this is what's, for someone like me, very difficult to stay calm about.
You've done a pretty good job
Yeah.
as of late.
Must be the tequila, I don't know. Anyways,
You gotta just, the letter, you're just gonna, for the next selectmen's meeting, you're gonna request this. Ask them to have a special.
you wanna
meeting.
type it up, or you want me to type it up, or,
I'm thinking I'll type up the notes here. I think it should come.
okay. well,
And
I'll
you've
do
done a
my
good
due,
job.
I'll do my best to do it now instead of the night before the meeting. When is your next meeting?
Not till the 6th.
Six?
Yeah, I would
getting
hand it in.
Getting it to the meeting,
Yeah.
getting on the
Right.
records.
Again,
How about sending SLR a copy? Would that not be appropriate?
well,
Why
I'm
not?
gonna see it anyway
Why
at some
not?
point.
Yeah.
well, I think that,
And the state.
Is
But that would be the thing.
can we get any, do you have an email from the state inspector?
No, I had a phone number,
We
but
won't
that
tell him he
changed.
gave it to us.
It's
Doing
just,
somebody new now?
I'll tell him I
It's,
Googled it.
Andy Modine, but he's out of the Thomaston District 4, but he still works for, Ron Stevens, I think is his supervisor. They both come out.
That it-
And if you can get me the email, it's just gonna say these have been the ongoing concerns. And
Right.
And it's getting very late in the project for anyone to do anything about it. By the way, Gene, I did ask about the curbing and why are they waiting? And Gene said, oh, they're gonna change those later. You can't change that curbing later. Unless you're gonna cut out that whole piece of concrete with it. So if someone's creating the illusion that they're going to change it later, then they're not being truthful, I don't think. So anyhow, if there's nothing else. It is 6:29 or 28.
6:26.
I moved that my formal letter from our concerns, continuing concerns. to this thing. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, John.
As long as you do it, I'm fine. Or as long as
I'm
Deacon
fine.
does it, I don't know.
No, she'll type it up for me.
Yeah. The letter.
She pretty much lets me dictate it, believe it or not.
That's the only thing you get to dictate.
Well, at least I get one thing. At least I get one thing.
You want to shut this off?
We gotta shut that tape off.
Let's shut that up.
Barbara? What do you gotta do to shut this off?
All right.
I think it's a wall.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll send you that.
Matt, thanks again for
Yeah, thank you guys.
showing interest in